Hello YouTubers, have you been struggling a little bit with motivation as lockdown, as isolation keeps going? I know some of you definitely have, I definitely have, and some of you are very lucky to be coming out of isolation, out of lockdown now, but some of us will be in it for another few weeks. We in Britain are waiting till Sunday for an announcement about what's happening with our isolation, and across the world I assume we're all waiting to see what's happening with your isolation. But as the lockdown keeps going, the motivation that we had at the start of the isolation, of the lockdown, honestly for me is fading a little bit. And so it's finding ways for me to keep pushing, to keep trying to improve, whether it's doing the same workouts as before, whether it's doing different workouts. And that's what we're talking about today. How can you try and stay motivated during times when motivation is hard to come by? So today, as I've spoke about before, you know what I'm about to say, a little bit of variation, because remember, variation is one of the keys to motivation, and it can just, honestly, I know I say it quite often, just a little bit of a change can make a very big difference. So today, or throughout this week, as I spoke about last week, just changing up the workouts a little bit. So I did this workout last week, and it is quite a big departure from the 90-minute steady workouts that I've been doing quite a lot of. So this workout is starting off at a low intensity, then building up through the intensities, building up through the rates, and it lets you kind of warm up nicely, and then lets you, okay, how can I push on a little bit more? Can I push on a little bit more? And I've got the scores from last week for each sort of interval, and then I just want to get just 0.1 faster, and that helps me with motivation, saying, okay, I'm doing the same workout as last week, yes, and this one isn't a steady state workout, so the split can be used as a motivator. So I'm using the splits right here, right in front of me, same as last week, or same workout as last week. So I just want to go 0.1 faster, maybe a little bit faster than that, just seeing how I feel during the workout, but using those splits just over there as a motivator. So that's number one. Little bit of variation and using what you've done previously to motivate yourself going forward. So whether that's, okay, I did a flat out 10k last week, can I do a little bit faster this week? Or maybe that's a target for you, using something as a target. That's a big motivator. And then after this workout, I'm going to have a little bit of a chat about a couple of other things that I've been doing to help me with my motivation that hopefully will help you. And probably towards the end of the video, I'll be talking about something that hopefully we can do as a Yam Squad to help bring us all together and help with the motivation as well. But that's a future Yam Squad to hear about and look forward to. First things first, I'll get on with this workout and hopefully go at least 0.1 faster on each of those intervals on bay this morning in the Yam Cave V2. So let's get to it. We've finished the workout for today. A little bit of a weird one because I thought there was another interval, so I ended up going through 2 intervals because I got distracted by what I was watching on YouTube and then kind of missed an interval. So I went slower on the last 2 than I thought I did on my targets there, but on the rest of them I did hold a bit faster and it felt much better. I think the average, let's see the average, see how it was compared to the last one. The average was exactly the same. Excellent. But felt much, where is it? This one. It felt much, much better, and doing sort of workout like this a little bit more higher rate gets you used to doing a high rate. But this brings me to my point. This session for me is quite a fun one because it gets me sort of through the whole workout. It's varied through the whole thing. It's not just one workout where you sit and do the same thing the whole time. So you go through and steadily build up. So maybe you try this workout if you're struggling for a workout to do. But that brings me to the point of why do a workout that's, if you're struggling for motivation, why make things harder for yourself? So had all the windows open, the door open. I actually had an extra carb drink today to drink through the workout itself because like I said, why make it harder for myself? Putting a little bit of sugar in some squash because I ran out of carb drink. So literally just squash, sugar, a little bit of salt to replenish some of the energy, some of the fuel that you've used during the workout makes it that little bit easier to keep pushing through the whole workout, especially as you get to the end. And a longer one, like this one's 73 minutes. So that last sort of 20, 30 minutes, you're thinking, or your body's like, maybe it's time to get some fuel in. So workouts, when you're lacking motivation, I'm not saying just do an easy workout, that's not necessarily it, but say you've got a steady state session scheduled in, you want to get some steady state in, but you're thinking, oh, I don't want to do some steady state. Well, it's how can you make that same steady state session that little bit easier? Maybe you have a 60-minute row to do. Why do a 60-minute row straight through? Why not break it up into little intervals, maybe 2 30 minutes, and in between the 2 30 minutes having a minute break, have a little drink, maybe it's a carb drink, maybe it's a chocolate bar, maybe not a chocolate bar, maybe it's some ice cream, maybe not some ice cream, but just thinking of little ways that you can make a workout easier to get you doing that workout. And then you can kind of just build on that and say, okay, well, yesterday I did steady state with a little bit of carb drink and that made a big difference, and you can improve on there. Same things about maybe it's really hot and it makes it harder to actually do the workout, so trying to cool down using a fan. I really recommend getting a fan, which I actually don't have, but I really want to get a fan. And lastly, like I've said before, making sure you're in the right intensity for the workouts you're doing. It doesn't really apply to those really hard workouts, but on those easier workouts, it can be really difficult to hop on the machine, or whatever workout you're doing can be really difficult if it's supposed to be sort of a long workout and you're struggling to do that long workout. I used to struggle to do steady state and dread doing steady state because I used to have to really have a big mental battle for an hour or an hour and a half. And then on the shorter workouts that are really high intensity, for me, motivating myself to get to do those, it's just a case of, what is the point of doing this workout? Why am I doing this hard workout? Why am I putting myself into the pain cave and just getting some yam down on the erg? Well, for me, I see it as a way to improve or a way to get closer to my goals. So especially those hard workouts where maybe you've got 5 intervals and you're 2 in and you're thinking, I don't want to do the rest. Or you're thinking, okay, if I just do 3, it'll be closer to that last 5 interval and it'll help me get there. Maybe you stop after 4, maybe you stop after 5, but it's trying to get yourself set for that target, whatever it is, whether it's faster test, faster piece, 2K, 5K, 10K, whatever it is. Maybe it's just trying to make yourself fitter, just trying to figure out what works for you, and there's loads of ways to do that. And we'll talk about a couple more, and like I said, talk about the bit of news, the thing that I would like to hopefully help motivate the Yam Squad with going forward in the future, maybe. But first things first, we have to fuel up, because remember, food is fuel. Instead of had a little bit of extra carb drink, I won't necessarily need as much fuel, but still a good amount of fuel. Oh yeah. And we've made it to the kitchen, waiting on the rice to cook in the wonderful rice cooker. If you haven't got a rice cooker already, I definitely am getting one. Blah, blah, blah. Rice cookers are good. Anyway, so another thing, like I said, so I've got 3 points to talk about right now. Point number 1 for motivating yourself during not having a lot of motivation: trying to erg with other people, or trying to work out with other people. Obviously, in isolation, you have the people in your household, that's who you can work out with. Well, there is technology out there around the world, throughout the interwebs, to help connect each other when you're working out. Whether that's using Strava for running or biking, whether that's using Ergworld, like Bence is using right now, right here. He's doing his half marathons. Focus please. He's a few K in, 10 minutes in. Bence is there doing his, I think he's on his 6th half marathon. He's doing 15 in 15 days on the rowing machine. But like using software like this, you can row together with each other and then push each other on. Whether it's a case of pushing each other on with motivation or for motivation, or pushing each other on with splits. So you can set it up to say, okay, well, I'm going to do, say on Friday, I'll do the 1 minute on, 1 minute off workout. I get a friend, maybe it's Ben's, maybe it's someone else, to do a 1 minute on, 1 minute off with me. And since we're not together, we can use ErgWorld to say, well, I can see your splits, you can see my splits, and then we can sort of really just hammer each other's splits down together and hopefully not blow up. But that's one way of sort of helping the motivation, trying to train together with today's technology. And also, point number 2, using ErgWorld, we're trying to organize a yamsquad event using ErgWorld to help with the motivation. Whether that's a competition or a sort of weekly erg together or something along those lines, we're trying to figure it out right now so that we can come together and help each other with our motivation. Whether it's me with my erg feet falling off, or whether it's you saying, I don't really want to quite erg today, but Cam's going on at 4 p.m. I need to join him because I said I would. And that's actually brings me on to another point, which isn't the last point, point number 3. This is sort of point 2.5, which is, and this one is probably actually bigger than variation as one of the keys to motivation. This is accountability. Accountability is absolutely massive to motivation and to training, and it makes you kind of want to continue to train, or at least sort of, okay, say I say to Ben, I'm going to join you for a half marathon tomorrow. We'll say 10 a.m. or 4 p.m. or whatever time it is, and it either gets me out of bed, gets me on the machine saying, well, I said to Ben I'm going to row and I'm going to do it, or maybe it's I've already just guys told you I'm doing the 1 minute off, 1 minute off, 1 minute on, 1 minute off on Friday, so I'm not going to miss that out because I've already said it, I've already laid it out there. So it's a bit of accountability for me, and so that is a huge part of motivation. And that brings me on to point number 3, which kind of ties into point 2.5, accountability, and that's what I kind of want to offer the Yam Squad, a bit of accountability. So I have my Yam Squad custom training programs. I know it's a very difficult time for everyone, and I really want to help with motivation, so I'm going to put the custom training programs on discount for the first month, which hopefully will lead us out of the isolation lockdown period. So if you go into the description, there'll be a code and a link to the program if you want to sign up, so that it's another sort of case of accountability where I can say to you, okay, I've written the program, I'm checking out the workouts that you're doing, and I've seen that, oh, why didn't you do the 45-minute steady erg on Tuesday? And then we can have a chat about that, and it's, again, a bit of that accountability that can hopefully, fingers crossed, help the Yam Squad out. I mean, you can click the link in the description below, and hopefully we can work together. But that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Again, motivation is huge in these times of isolation, and it can affect everybody, not just you, not just me, but the entire world. Whether it's motivating yourself to get onto the rowing machine, whether it's motivating yourself just to get outside and go a walk, or whether it's a big one for me right now is motivating myself to get out of bed before midday. But I'm pretty sure a lot of you will know what I'm talking about. Hopefully we can sort of get into the swing of things and help each other out. So stay tuned for the possible ErgWorld event. Hopefully I can help some of you with the custom training program on discount. And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next episode.